Nintendo's music has been stolen by a lot of different people. Like the US government. They were caught using music from the Yoshi series on their website back in 2017. Here's the song from the government website. And then here's the underground theme from Yoshi's Island DS. Pretty much identical, right? Now, this song lay undiscovered on an obscure part of the government website for 2 whole years. And then, in 2019, news articles appeared, pointing out this copyright violation. And the next day, the song mysteriously vanished from the government website. Or how about back in 2020, when former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, tweeted a couple of campaign videos, one featuring the original Super Mario Bros. Theme, and the other featuring Green Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog. Both of those videos are still up on Twitter if you scroll back far enough. But today we're not talking about governments or presidents, but instead, Shrek. You see, there have been many Shrek video games released over the years, and while most of them are fairly nondescript, there's a single Shrek game that stands out for a not great reason. The game's soundtrack features a number of songs ripped straight out of Nintendo's masterpiece, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. So, in this video, I'll tell you all about this Shrek game, I'll play you some audio examples of the stolen songs, and finally, we'll take a look at how people reacted when they found out. Let's talk about the time Nintendo's music was stolen by Shrek. So, before we talk about Shrek, we first need to deep dive into the world of this thing, the V.Smile. It's an educational video game console, a little bit like the Leapfrog. It came out back in 2004, when I was but 2 years old. Now, to try and get kids interested in learning about maths, spelling, and geography, the Hong Kong-based company VTech struck a bunch of licensing deals with brands like Scooby-Doo, The Lion King, Dora the Explorer, Cinderella, and also Shrek. So, there's actually 2 different Shrek games you can play on your V.Smile system: Shrek Dragon's Tale and Shrek the Third Arthur's School Day Adventure. Now, we can ignore the Shrek the Third game because it's the other one, Dragon's Tale, that we're interested in today. Now, it's at this point that I'm indebted to a YouTube channel by the name of Rescue Heroes Nostalgia Zone, who has uploaded a full playthrough of the game. I'll be using bits of their footage in this video. So, let's boot up the game.
Shrek Dragon's Tale!
So, we start a new game, and the first thing we hear is this song. Now, if you're listening closely, you might notice it sounds somewhat similar to the underwater theme from Super Mario Bros. But that could just be a coincidence, so we're going to put that song aside. So we make our way through the game, solving various puzzles, until we reach a mini-game where Puss in Boots has to jump onto shelves while avoiding falling bottles. And just listen to the music that's playing in the background.
Uh-oh.
It sounds almost identical to the theme that plays inside houses in Ocarina of Time. The tempo is about the same, it's even in the same key.
Uh-oh.
The fact that whoever wrote the music for this Shrek game didn't change anything other than adding a drum beat is unbelievable. But that's not the only stolen song here. A little later in the game, Shrek must find his way through a haunted forest. And listen to the music. It may well sound familiar because it's ripped straight out of Ocarina of Time's Lost Woods. Again, the Shrek version is almost identical. The same tempo, the same key, the only differences here seem to be that whoever transcribed the song made quite a few mistakes, so that the final version sounds pretty dissonant, very clashing a lot of the time. However, you may or may not have noticed that we're only hearing the B section of the Lost Woods theme. The main Lost Woods melody hasn't actually played at all. But don't fret, because the next area that Shrek travels to has a new piece of background music which sounds like this. Yeesh, I mean, this is pretty hard to listen to. The iconic Lost Woods melody has been totally mangled, and the final result is a little hard on the ears. Yikes. And then there's one final stolen song. This one's found within a bonus quiz mode. Take a listen.
Hey.
That song in the background is the Kokiri Forest theme, again ripped straight out of Ocarina of Time. And as with the other music, it's played at the same tempo, in the same key, and with a bunch of transcription errors that make it very hard to listen to. So that's all of the stolen music I was able to spot. However, it's not unlikely that other music from the game takes inspiration from other video game soundtracks that I'm not so familiar with. But that's everything I was personally able to dig up. So who was the culprit behind this brazen music theft, and how did they think they would get away with it? Well, both of those questions are pretty hard to answer. It's not even known which company developed Shrek Dragon's Tale. There's no end credit sequence, and while the box says DreamWorks on it, that doesn't actually mean that DreamWorks put together this game themselves. None of the other Shrek video games were developed within the DreamWorks company. They were all outsourced to other game development studios. So that's probably what happened here. The game was likely very cheaply outsourced to a small game development studio, and whoever was in charge of the game's music was probably given a very tiny budget and a very tight time schedule. And so they resorted to taking music from another game's soundtrack, Ocarina of Time. So for 2 years, nobody noticed this stolen music. Or if they did, they didn't document it anywhere. But then, on September 17th, 2007, games journalist Mark Boson made the discovery. He was working at IGN at the time, and his brother actually noticed the familiar Zelda music coming from this strange console. And so Mark recorded a video documenting this strange discovery.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for stopping by my blog. So I'm playing this potion mixing game, if you can see over my shoulder here. Listen to that music. You guys might recognize it from Ocarina of Time. So, Dragon's Tale, I tip my hat to you. You guys managed to steal the greatest music of all time and put it in your crappy game. Thanks, guys.
So that was 2007. And in the years since, thanks in large part to Mark Boson's blog post, this bizarre Shrek game with its stolen music has become pretty infamous online. And, in a strange twist of fate, after he left IGN, Mark Boson went on to work at a completely different company, Disney, aka DreamWorks' biggest rival. And that is the story of the Shrek game that ripped off Nintendo's music. Also, at the start of the video, I mentioned the time when the US government stole a Yoshi song. Well, I have a whole video on that from a few years ago, so check it out if you're interested. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!